Hello and welcome back to Lone Wolf Wednesday. We're up to Book 8, The Jungle of Horrors. You are the warrior, Lone Wolf, last of the Kai Masters of Summerland, the sole survivor of the massacre that destroyed your kinsmen during a bitter war with your age-old enemies, the Dark Lords of Helgadad. Many centuries have passed since Sun Ingle, first of your kind, established the Order of the Kai. Aided by the magicians of Desi, he completed a perilous quest to find 7 crystals of power, known as the Lore Stones of Nixator. Upon discovering them, he unlocked a wisdom and strength that lay within the Lore Stones in himself. He recorded the nature of his discoveries and experiences in a great tome entitled The Book of the Magnakai. You discovered this lost treasure and have given a solemn pledge to restore the Kai to their former glory, ensuring the security of your land in the years to come. However, your diligent study of the book enabled you to master only 3 of the 10 Magnakai disciplines. To fulfill your pledge, you must complete the quest first undertaken by Sun Eagle over 1,000 years ago, and find the Lore Stones of Nixator. By doing so, you too will acquire the power and wisdom of the Magnakai, held within the Lore Stones' crystal forms. Already, your quest has taken you far from your northern homeland. Following in the footsteps of the first Kai Grandmaster, you journeyed to Desi and sought the help of the Elder Magi, the magicians who aided Sun Eagle on his quest long ago. There you learned that one of the 7 Lore Stones was present in their land, hidden deep within an island stronghold known as Kazan. Oud. Castle Death. In the years since Sun Eagle first came to Desi, the fortress had become the abode of a great, powerful sorcerer called Zadra. The Elder Magi, realizing the danger of Zadha's increasing power, attempted to destroy Kazan Ode, but they failed. In desperation, they constructed a prison of energy around the fortress to prevent him from ever escaping. Steadily, however, his power grew, and the people lived in fear of the day when he might break free and wreak his vengeance upon them. When you resolved to enter Kazan Ode and retrieve the Lodestone, the Elder Mages rejoiced, for the success of your quest would bring about the destruction of Zadra and put an end to the bane that had haunted them for hundreds of years. You survived the perils of the Castle Death and emerged triumphant, achieving that which the Elder Magi had believed to be impossible. During the victory celebrations held in your honor, you learned that for centuries the Elder Magi have been expecting your coming. An ancient Desi legend tells of the birth and rise to greatness of 2 Kurataskai, sons of the sun. One was named Ikar, which means eagle, and the other was named Skan, meaning wolf. A prophecy foretold that the Kurataskai would come from the north to seek the counsel of the Elder Magi in order that they might fulfill a great quest. Though separated by many a century, they would share a single spirit, purpose, and destiny, to triumph over the champions of darkness in an age of great peril. At the Temple of Truth in Elzian, the magnificent capital city of the Desi, the Elder Magi prepare you for your next stage in the Magnakai quest. Lord Ramoa, Speaker of the High Council, tutored you in the ancient histories of Magnamund, and you receive lessons in lore that you would have learned from the Kai Masters should they have survived the attack by the murderous Dark Lords of Helgadad. The Lore Stone you must now find lies hidden in a temple at the center of a jungle swamp known as the Danarag. Actually, there's no third A. Danarg. In ancient times, this huge area was once the crater of a massive volcano, controlled by a powerful lord of evil called Agarash the Damned. The Elder Magi defeated him in a war that lasted 1,000 years, and in the wake of his destruction, turned the Danarg crater into a rich, fertile paradise, the perfect setting for their most sacred place of worship, the Temple of Orido. The Danag flourished until a great plague befell the Elder Magi and decimated their race. They were forced to abandon the Danag and seek refuge in Desi. Slowly, the Danag was consumed by a creeping mire, which swallowed or poisoned all healthy forms of life. The crater became a sanctuary for a host of evil creatures that thrive in the fetid waters and fought for control of the treacherous, shifting mudflaps. Many came from the barren hills of Ogia, perhaps Ogia, but many more awoke from lairs deep beneath the crater where they had lain dormant since the defeat of their master, Agarash the Damned, 8,000 years ago. Now the time for study has passed and the time for swift action has arrived. Grim news from the west prompts the Elder Magi to cease their counseling and arrange for your immediate passage to the Danag. In the Dark Lord city of Helgedad, a civil war has raged for 5 years following your defeat of Hakon, Archlord of the Black City. Now a new lord sits upon the throne of Helgedad, Dark Lord Gnag of Mosgor. The Dark Lords have united behind their new leader, reports Lord Ramoa solemnly to his fellow elders of the High Council. They are hungry for conquest and revenge. Their strength grows with each passing day. We dare delay no longer. The members of the High Council rise from their seats and turn to face you. No sound reaches your ears, yet the words of their blessing fills your mind. May the gods, Ishir and Kai, protect you on your journey into the darkness, Korskan, they intone. Okay, if we're going into a deep jungle thing, hunting or animal control sounds smart. Let's look at Hunt Mastery. So it's resistance to surprise plus hunting. I think I'd rather go with animal handling then. We can master the... I tend to carry around a dagger as my backup, which we're already mastering. Sword and bow. Let's add... Warhammer? The Kai Monastery has been rebuilt. You can leave some of your objects here. I will steal 1 potion. Wait. Oh, we're not allowed to because we technically don't have a backpack yet. And we need to put away some of our special items. So we'll get rid of power key, amulet, I'm over full of special items. I am going to have to leave some. Whistle. Whistle. I need to get rid of another yet. We've never needed this dagger. One more? I'm going to do the padded leather waistcoat. I understand. They give me a backpack, a little bit of money. In fact, we're full of money. I will definitely take a quiver. I will take 3 more grenades. Lantern. rope, seeing as these were stolen, well, seeing as we lost them in the last adventure, and kneel. The usual spiel about no matter how poorly you roll your combat skill or endurance, as long as you are smart, you should be able to get to the end. You leave Elzian under the cover of darkness on a trading ship bound for Garthan. It is a trim vessel, lean, proud, and simple in design. One of 1,000 such ships that set sail and the chain of landlocked seas and lakes dividing the northern and southern continents of Magnamond. Its passage along this great waterway, called the Tentarus, is unlikely to invite undue attention, and it is for this reason that the Elder Magi have placed you aboard. The nature of your voyage is secret, however you are not alone. A guide has been chosen to accompany you on your dangerous mission. His name is Pado, a tall, dark, ebony-skinned Vakeros, who is a master in the art of battle magic. Among his fellow warriors, he is a high-ranking lord, respected and honored for his bravery and skill on the field of battle. Now, for the mission that lies ahead of you, he has exchanged his gold and scarlet robes for the clothes of a commoner, a roving adventurer, a sword for hire. It is a disguise you have adopted as well to veil your true identity on this long voyage to the land of Taelestria, where a rendezvous with royalty awaits you. You sail westwards, a benevolent wind filling the triangular sail and skimming the ship across the still blue waters. The hull seems to slide over the surface of the water rather than cut its way through, and you cannot help but wonder if Paido has conjured some magic to speed your passage. Your first port of call is the city of Talon, where food stocks and fresh water are replenished. Your voyage then continues along the Tentarus to the port of Arello, the last stopping place before your ship-bound journey ends at Garthan, the crown capital of Telestria. It is an hour past midnight when you dock at Varnos Harbour in Garthan, a sprawling network of quays and cracked stone jetties that shelter great fleets of merchant traders and dhows. Silently like a shadow, you disembark and follow Pado through the twisting harbour streets, slowly climbing the steep stairs that connect one level of Garthan to the next. Rusty lanterns cast pools of yellow light beneath the timbered balconies, illuminating the stalls of merchant and vendors who haggle, brag, and barter in the crowded streets till dawn. Pado halts at an iron-shod door and raps the grille with the hilt of his blue steel sword. A man's face appears, stern but handsome, with smooth dark hair and keen, intelligent eyes. A smile of recognition softens his lordly features when he sees Pado. In an instant, the door swings open, and you are ushered inside. One sec. The man's name is Adamus, Lord Constable of the Royal Citadel, protector and cousin of Queen Evane of Telestria. For centuries, a strong bond of friendship has existed between the royal household and the magicians of Desi. And when called upon by the Elder Magi to help you in your quest, Queen Eviane pledged her support without hesitation. She volunteered the services of Lord Adamus, who is to ensure your safe and unhindered passage through Telestria to the borders of Danarg. At dawn, after snatching a few hours' sleep, you are taken by coach to the East City Wharf, where an empty corn barge is waiting to ferry you upriver. Haulage is provided by 8 large gorkas, hairy ox-like creatures from the plains of Slovia, which are harnessed to the barge by chains. They lumber along the cobbled towpath, continually kept in line by the stinging lash of the barge owner's Zolhide whip. The next day, the barge arrives in a small river village called Lona, where a detachment of Lord Adamas's cavalry, resplendent in their surcoats of scarlet and grey, provide you with horses for the cross-country journey to the fortified city of Fina. Or perhaps Foina? Ill news greets you in Fina, the city of tripled towers. Zegron, warlord of Zanar, ruler of the barren highlands of Ogia, has amassed an army of Dakarim warriors. 3 days ago, they attacked the border town of Lucas, to the north. The Telestrian garrison put up a brave and spirited defense, but were hopelessly outnumbered by the bloodthirsty Ogian horde that drove through the perimeter walls with battering rams and engines of war. The Dakarim razed Lucas to the ground, and only a handful of survivors escaped to tell the dreadful tale. The situation is grave, reports Lord Adamas, on returning from an emergency conclave of his fellow Telestrian knights. For decades, Zegron and his minions have raided our northern territories, though never with such determination and strength. We must mobilize our army for war, for it is war that Ogia has invited by its unforgivable attack on Lukos. I must return to Garthan to muster my retainers in preparation for battle, and inform the Queen of the evil that threatens her realm. I can escort you no more to Denarg, though your quest must proceed in despite of all that conspires against it. He sends for his scribe, who arrives with helpers laden with the paraphernalia of his craft. He dictates an order of safe conduct and sets the impression of his signet ring into the hot wax seal before passing the parchment to you. Our northern people are a frontier breed, wary and suspicious of strangers. If challenged, show the pass, and your safe passage should be assured by all loyal to Queen Evian. Mark this as a special item and put it in your tunic. Early next morning, Lord Adamas accompanies you and Pado to the main square of Phonia. It is from here that your quest truly begins. The first leg of your journey to the Denarg will take you north into the town of Tharo, which is nestled in the fertile plains of Turalestria. There are 2 ways of reaching town. You could travel by road or take a barge along the River Phone. Consult the map before deciding which route to take. So we go look at our map. So we're here, and we're being asked, do we catch a river barge up to here, or do we follow the road? I'd prefer to ride. The morning sky is filled with a sullen grey haze, and around you the tall plains grass undulates like a sea of green, stirred into motion by a chill westerly breeze. The Great North Road cuts a straight line to the horizon, with tracks that lead to cottages and farmsteads, branching off at regular intervals. Sheep and cattle graze the roadside, and the air is rich with the scents of farmland, flowers, and damp grass. We should reach Tharo by sundown, you comment, checking your position on the map. Perhaps, replies Pado cautiously, and points to a menacing streak of blue-black clouds rolling across the skyline from the west. Just as long as we stay ahead of the storm. By noon, you've put 30 miles behind you, but still have 30 more to ride before you reach the town of Tharo. Steadily, the sky is darkening, and what began as fine drizzle has developed into sheets of heavy rain. Both of you are drenched, and your horses are beginning to steam as they splash through the ankle-deep puddles that punctuate the muddy highway. Through the pall of rain, you see an inn on the banks of a stream whose waters are greatly swollen by the storm. A wide stone bridge spans the rushing torrent, and a mill with a thatched roof is close by. If you wish to cross the bridge and try the mill, go to 61. If you want to go to the inn, go to 188. Or if you just want to keep going, check out the inn. You stable your horses and investigate the mouth-watering smell of freshly baked wheat cakes that wafts from the doorway of the inn. "Welcome," hails a friendly voice. "Come in and dry yourselves by the fire." A black-bearded dwarf with equally black patch covering his right eye stands behind the counter, his barrel-like body obscured from the chest down. "Perhaps you would care for some fare?" With an open sweep of his hands, he draws your attention to the plates of cakes and kegs of ale that are spread along the bar. "Sure, we're rich." The dwarf draws 2 flagons of ale and a brace of wheat cakes from the counter. 15 lul, all told. Pushing 2 carved wooden platters with their mouth-watering cargoes a little closer. You flick open your belt and take out 4 crowns. "This should cover it," you say, sliding the gold coins across the bar. He tests them with his teeth before nodding his approval. "No offense to you 2 gentlemen, you understand, but I've been caught with snide coinage afore, and it's made me a mite careful like. These be decimint, if I'm not mistaken." He inquires, eye twinkling at the thought of hearing tales of a distant and magical land. "Could be," says Pato guardedly. "The coins of Magnamond mix freely in Garthen's markets. No telling when those 4 last saw their birthplace. How about you, innkeep?" you interrupt, steering conversation away from the Desi. "You are no native Telestrian. When did you last see your homeland?" The dwarf's face beams as he prepares to talk on his favourite subject, himself. By the time you finish your food and ale, you've heard the life story of Larden, son of Kandor of Bor. "What news have you of Lukos?" asks Pato, as the dwarf takes a rare pause for breath. "News of a kind that's becoming only too familiar around these parts," he replies in a disgruntled tone. "But that Zegron's bitten off more than he can chew this time. Once Lord Adamus and the army boys come down on him, they'll wish they stayed in that stinking city of Zanar. Mark my words." "Don't be too sure of that, Larden," says a rosy-faced farmer who has sidled along the bar within earshot of your conversation. "My sister reckons that this time Zegron won't stop till he's flattened everything between Lukos and Tentaris." "That stargazing sister of yours is full of good news," reports the dwarf. "When has she ever seen anything cheerful with her telescopes and charts and crystal balls? Answer me that." Agreement rumbles from among the tavern crowd, openly listening to your discussion. "That may be," says the farmer, "but when's she ever been wrong either?" And then an uncomfortable silence fills the inn as the crowd slowly returns to their own business. None, least of all the innkeeper, chooses to dwell on the matter any further. "Sure, let's investigate his sister. She's a fortune-teller. She lives with her mother at the ferry house. 5 miles north of here, there's a junction where the track heads east. The sign says to Topham. A mile past Topham, you come to the ferry house on the banks of the River Phone. If it's her counsel you're after, you best take plenty of gold. She's wont to charge a high price for her crystal gazing." I'm actually going to print screen those instructions, because otherwise I will forget them. Boom. How we get to the dwarf fortune teller we want to later. "Thank you." You give the farmer his thanks for his advice and suggest to Pato that the time has come to continue your journey. As you're about to leave, the farmer calls out, "By the way, you best tell her that Jaco sent you. She doesn't take kindly on folks dropping by uninvited." The rain beats down relentlessly as you ride the featureless highway to Tharrow. Thunder rumbles over the western hills like the growl of doomwolves stalking their prey. Gradually the muddy roads descend into a wide valley, and a track joins it from the east. A battered signpost at the junction points along the track. It says Topham, 9 miles. So we were told. The signpost says to Topham, a mile past there, go to the ferry house. So we turn. The track winds through the centre of the valley, following the course of a stream that meanders down the River Fohn. It flows alongside a white brick house, turning its water wheel with a comforting and regular sound. As you ride past the house and over a tiny humped-backed bridge, a cluster of cottages and an abbey comes into view. In the grounds of the abbey, a burial is taking place. A circle of monks in hooded brown robes lower a coffin into one of several freshly dug graves. We have divination. The monks communicate telepathically. Although you do not recognize the language, they are using their mind speech. You sense that they are anxious and uneasy of your presence. The monks of Telestria are infamous from their gluttony. Tales of their 30-course meals and week-long banquets are well known in Magnamund. Despite their voluminous robes, you cannot help but notice how emaciated these monks are. No, that doesn't sound like the real monks then. We'll leave them alone. They're probably a cult. Shafts of sunlight break through the slate-grey cloud, and the rain eases off and finally stops. You ride across the rolling valley floor towards the River Fohn until the tracks stop at a ramshackle house perched precariously on the riverbank. An old wooden jetty juts out from the side of the house, its platform almost submerged in the rain-swollen river. A notice board standing in front of the house reads, "Ferry landing. Passenger barges to Tharrow embark from this jetty. Passenger barges to Phonia embark from the opposite bank." So we were told, a mile there's a ferry house. If it's her counsel you're after, take plenty of gold. So I do want to investigate the ferry house. We have met Cato. You climb the creaky stairs that lead to the front door and rap the wrought iron knocker. The door squeals open slowly, and you are greeted by what appears to be a bundle of rags with hair. After staring at it for a few moments, you realize with disbelief that this ill-smelling mound before you is alive. The hair parts and a face appears, crevassed with dirt-encased wrinkles. "What do you want?" croaks the old woman, grinning a yellow, mirthless grin. "Explain that we have been sent here by her brother." "I wish to see Tadia," you say, bowing politely, so as not to appear threatening to the frail old crone. "Are you the fair lady we seek?" A smile crumples her face, and a blush, like an angry bruise, discolors her leathered cheeks. "I'm her mother," she says coyly. "What is it you wish to see her about?" Before you can answer, a young woman's voice calls from the inside of the house. "Show them in, mother. I've been expecting them." The old woman leads you and Pado to a room at the top of the stairs. Books and charts, stacked high on shelves and scattered about the floor, fill the room, which is illuminated by daylight streaming through a domed portal in the ceiling. A massive bronze telescope is fixed to the portal, and below it rests a circular table of carved bone set with gems. Seated at the table is a beautiful young woman, her hair silken gold, and around her high, pale forehead she wears a circlet of jet, inlaid with runes and mystic symbols. "I am Tadia, the prophetess," she says, her voice soft and lilting, "and you are Lone Wolf, lord of the Sun Realm, Skarn of legend." Pado reaches for his sword, but you stay his hand. You sense that this woman wishes only to help. "We live in an age of great peril. Your enemies of old are our enemies. They stand poised to conquer our land, and I fear we are too weak to resist them. Your purpose is known to me, and I will aid you as I can in the hopes that you will fulfill your destiny and destroy the champions of darkness." She raises her arms and points towards the sky. Floating in the air between her parted hands appears a spinning globe of white fire. She tilts her head back and stares into the ball of flame, her eyes unblinking despite the fearful intensity of the light. "Your safest passage to the Danarg is through the Mordrill forest. The road to Sadia is fraught with danger. Only battle and death awaits you there." Well, this sounds like print screenable, actionable help. The globe flickers and fades as she returns her gaze to you. Let nothing delay your quest, Lone Wolf. The future of our lands depends on your success. Before you leave, the prophetess offers you a choice of potions and weapons. You may take what you wish, but remember to amend your action chart. Choose from the following. Potion of Aletha. Combat skill by 2 is raised for a single combat. Potion of Lamspur. Heals to 4. Broadsword, Quarterstaff. Rendalim's Elixir. 6 healing. Tincture of Oxidine. All potions are backpack items. If you are infected with the Coravax bacillus, you may use the tincture of Oxidine to cure yourself. Well, that sounds like we should carry the tincture of Oxidine in case we get poisoned. And what, I'm just allowed to have all these? Okay, I'll take everything. As you descend the steps of the fiery house, Hado catches sight of something glinting in the distance. It is the barge, he says, shielding his eyes from the sun shining upon them. A team of bedraggled Gawkers is hauling the mighty vessel upstream, unaffected by the storm's strengthened flow. The barge arrives at the jetty and stops to allow a motley assortment of peasants and travellers to disembark. "You two going to Tharrow?" asks the captain. "The fare is 40 loon apiece and includes your horses." We have 10 gold crowns, so why not? You stare across the lush open plains at the border the river, contemplating the quest that lies ahead. A flock of long-necked orcals flies overhead, their melodic call echoing along the grasslands as they return to their nests at the river's edge. Hado sits silently beside you at the prow, his thoughts like yours on the perils of the Danarg that are yet to be faced. The sun is low in the sky when you catch the sight of Tharrow, its mud-coloured walls thick, high and crenellated, dominating the hill on which it was built centuries ago. The barge passes beneath a stout wooden bridge supported by rough-hewn pillars of stone, along a canal running parallel to the river, and draws to a halt before 2 massive metal-bound doors that span the waterway. You collect your horses and disembark with the other mounted passengers, riding in line towards the fortified town gate. At first you are turned away by the guards, but after you show your pass, signed and sealed by Lord Adamus, you are ushered to the front of the queue and saluted like lords as you ride through the archway and into the square. 3 streets converge at the River Gate Square. Copperpiece Lane, Globe Walk, and Flagon Alley. Flagon Alley sounds like a nice rest. Night is closing in and the shops that line the narrow streets are shuttering their doors. Lanterns flare to life, their yellow glow warming the chill west winds as the townfolks return to their homes at the end of another day's trading. There is one shop where the doors remain open. The sign hanging from its balcony reads, "Roller Rada, Map Maker." Sure, we'll go buy a map. You are welcomed by an attractive young woman with long jet-black hair woven into a single plait that reaches her waist. She is dressed in a green suede cloth tunic similar to your own and wears soft calfskin gloves. In addition to the maps, which she researches and draws herself, she sells all manner of hunting and scouting equipment. She takes obvious delight in her work and shows you samples of her maps, which are excellent for their accuracy and attention to detail. You ask her if she has ever prepared a map of Danarg, and she turns strangely silent. Tears fill her dark eyes as she recalls how her father once explored beyond the fringes of that fearsome domain. They had planned to map its internal waterways and, should luck be with them, discover the lost temple of the Elder Magi. With sadness, she tells of her father's deaths in the jaws of a monster that had stalked them from the moment that they entered the jungle. She escaped, though not unscathed. As she fought to free her father from the mouth of the beast, she was badly burned by its caustic saliva. Carefully, she removes one of her calfskin gloves and reveals an injured hand. The sight of the angry red scar tissue fills you with compassion for the young woman. If you question her further, turn here. She's lost all her maps and equipments while escaping from the area. However, she does recall seeing the Temple of Orido from the peak of a hill she calls the Scarlet Tor, situated on an island of firm ground 30 miles beyond the Saga track. You thank her for her help and wish her good fortune before leaving the shop and continuing on your way. That also sounds like actionable, noteworthy information, so we'll print screen that. You arrive at a flagged stoned quadrangle. It is well lit by the street lanterns, which hang from the first floor balconies of a large and unusual building constructed of blue stone, with silver and scarlet veins running through it. The bricks have been polished to give a mirror-like shine. The huge wooden doors, branded with copper, dominates the entrance, above which a bronze cast depicts a flaming broadsword with the words Temple of the Sword. Beyond the temple, a street ascends to a stone watchtower and is built on the peak of a hill which dominates the town. We have pathmanship, so we go here. To the left of the main door, you notice 3 symbols engraved in the speckled blue stone: a bed, a horse, and a loaf of bread. You recognize their significance, for you have seen similar markings on hostels and monasteries during your travel to the east. By displaying these symbols, the monks of the temple offer travelers a meal, to stable their horses, and bed for the night. We will take advantage of this offer. You dismount and climb the steps leading to the temple doors. An old man in brown robes answers your knock and invites you and Pato inside. A novice attends to your horses. Stepping through the door is like stepping into another world. The air is sweet with incense, and the flickering light cast by the long row of squat red candles does little to illuminate the interior. You follow the old man along a vaulted corridor, down several flights of stairs, and finally into a torchlit refectory. The delicious smell of cooking wafts from an open hatch in the wall, together with sounds of people in the kitchen beyond. "Be seated," says the old man, pointing to a stout oak table laid for supper. "Enjoy our humble food. May it revive you after your travels and fortify you for the road." Another monk enters the chamber, carrying 2 steaming plates of meat. Stew. He sets them down before you and blesses the food. "Gaj zog zutag." You are hungry after your day's journey and must eat. "Sure, we'll eat your stew. The stew tastes as good as it smells." You both make short work of the meal. The monks smile and nod their heads. "Come. The dean wishes to see you before you go to sleep," says one, motioning you to follow them as they leave. The dean's chamber is a domed hexagonal room hung with tapestries depicting strange and grotesque creatures. One sec, sorry. Numerous plinths stand upon the richly carpeted floor, each supporting large bowls filled to the brim with silvery liquid. A gust of air disrupts the tapestries on the far wall. Seconds later, it is moved aside to reveal an elderly man in a hooded black robe. "Have they eaten?" he asks, his voice strangely cold and monotonal. "Yes, master," replies the monk with a voice. "Good," he says, stepping closer. "Leave us." The monk departs, clicking the door shut. Gradually the light in the chamber grows dimmer. You are in the presence of great evil. Your skin prickles and your blood runs cold as you recoil at the sudden realization. But alarm turns to fear as a new threat begins to manifest itself. Your futile quest is over, mortal, says the hooded man, his emotionless voice like a spike stabbing at your mind. You reach to your weapon, but your hand begins to shake, and you cannot control your fingers. You glance at Pado and see that he too is shivering uncontrollably. A wave of pain tears at your stomach, and your legs buckle. You groan in agony and drop to your knees, clutching at the burning stomach. Pado screams in anguish and falls unconscious at your sides. You cannot but envy his oblivion, as the terrible pain courses through your body. We do have curing. You muster your strength and fight the deadly poison infiltrating your blood. Your improved power of curing suppresses the pain and slows the progress of this insidious toxin, enabling you to face your would-be assassin. A flicker of surprise registers in the cold black eyes of your opponent as you stagger to your feet and unsheath your weapon. Take some damage and fight. Gaj Amik Amaz, hisses the monk, pulling back a hood. You gasp in shock as you stare upon a ghastly transformation. The monk's face is writhing and contorting. His skin tightens and grows darker. Tattered flesh drops from his sunken cheeks to hang in festoons beneath the exposed lower jaw. A snake-like tongue, black and narrow, flickers between curved fangs that have risen from the jaw. A sickening dread fills your heart as you recognize the creature that stands before you, a Hellghast, a nightmarish agent of the Dark Lord. Of the Dark Lords. Its demonic eyes glow like red-hot coals as it shrieks and raises its claw-tipped hands. We do have the Summer Sword. Golden fire erupts along the blade of the Sun Sword as you raise it above your head. The Hellghast shrieks and steps back, its eyes glowing red with fear and loathing. It recognizes the power of the weapon you wield, the power that is the dark bane of its Dark Lord masters. A power that can bring about their total destruction. Whew, he is skilled. He is very, very skilled. We are one skill shy of him, and he has more health. We do more damage. But we have to remember that we do double damage because of the Sun Sword special ability, so it's not actually that bad. That said, we're down to 1/3 health. You barely survived the encounter with this enemy. You are now gravely injured and should try to heal as soon as possible. Yeah, remember to double endurance points lost by the enemy due to the Summer Sword. A wretched cry of pain and despair fills the chambers as you strike the killing blow. The Hellghast falls, its flesh transforming into a putrid green gas that seeps from the vents in its tattered robe. Your mind reels at what has just occurred, but you dare not dwell on the fearsome implications. The poison in your system is beginning to overwhelm your healing power. You must act quickly if you're to save both yourself and Pado from the fatal toxin. We do have Lamspa, we do have Rendalem's Elixir, and we do have potentially that herb. You swallow the potion and stay conscious long enough for it to take effect. Gradually, you feel your strength returning. The pain and nausea disappears, and your limbs stop their uncomfortable shivering, as the potion and your latent Kai skills neutralize the toxin in your blood. Now, you use your skill to try save your companion's life. Placing your hands on his chest, you transfer the warmth of your healing power to his body, breaking down the toxin by degrees. The treatment is slow and laborious, and it is dawn the following day before you know for sure that you have saved his life. The flicker of an eyelid and a bead of sweat are the first sign of his recovery. He stirs to consciousness, waking from a sleep that was nearly his last. He remembers nothing of the ordeal, and when you tell him what happened, he shakes his head in disbelief. A Hellghast? How could this be? The servants of Dark Lord Nag have infiltrated the monastery. They have kept themselves hidden, but I fear the day is fast approaching, and they will rise up and wreak havoc on the town. Already they know our true identities, and they wager they know why we are here. This is bitter news indeed, Lone Wolf, says Pado. We cannot afford to delay. If Telestria falls to Dark Lord Gnag before we reach the Danag, then our quest is lost. It is a sobering thought, but you do not dwell in it. You help Pedo to his feet and cast your eyes around the chamber, searching for an exit. One of the bowls begins to emit a faint humming sound. The surface of its silvery liquid swirls and grows brighter, casting a phosphorescent light onto the domed ceiling. The sparkling mist slowly clears and a strange image takes shape, condensing and forming into something wholly alien, something that resembles the head of a monstrous fly. Its great, multifaceted eyes stare down at you, gleaming darkly with black fire, like two huge clusters of evil jewels. Tang, Ash, Okaj, Nadakna, Gnag, booms a ghastly, rasping voice. Then, with a stifled cry of rage and recognition, the image clouds over, and the light fades to a dull glow. The terrible visage of Dark Lord Gnag has disappeared. "By the gods!" gasps Pedo, shocked to his core by what he has seen. "What manner of beast was that?" You don't reply, for you sense that he already knows. Swiftly, you search the chamber. Behind a throne-like chair of chiseled stone, you discover several useful items. A sword, a bow, 3 arrows, and enough food for 2 meals. Also, set in the back of the chair is a lever. It activates a portal in the opposite wall. A tapestry that concealed it is drawn aside, and you can see a stairway flanked by torches descending into a passage far below. I can't take arrows. Fine. We can fit 2 more meals, though. "Come," says Pedo. "This room chills my blood." You follow him as he descends the stairs, stopping briefly to kick over the bowl of glowing silvery liquid that projected the image of Dark Lord Gnag. The stairs lead down to a vast network of catacombs that stretch in every direction. It would be easy to lose yourself in this maze of tunnels, but your Kai tracking skills, heightened by the pressing need to escape from the monastery, help you avoid the hazards and dead ends of the sprawling burial vaults. Following the sound of dripping water, you discover a circular stone trapdoor in the ceiling. Pedo cups his hands around your foot and lifts you nearer the tunnel roof, enabling you to open a trapdoor. Early morning daylight streams into the passage as you lift the slabs of wet stone and set it aside. You have emerged in a courtyard on the north side of the monastery. 2 monks stand guard at the double doors of a low, timber-framed building on the other side of a paved enclosure. Fortunately, a line of bushy fruit trees that encircle the courtyard provides all the cover you need to avoid their watchful eyes. You crouch in the shadows and watch as the monks leave their posts to enter the building. Minutes later, the doors swing open and they reappear on horseback and ride off through the archway to the right. The courtyard is now empty, but you curse their departure, for they are now riding the horses that belonged to you and Pedo. Let us search the stable. It is full of fine horses, all of them sound and sturdy as the mounts given you by Lord Adamus. Pedo acts as a lookout while you saddle up 2 black stallions. You're making final adjustments to the bridles when Pedo hisses a warning. 4 monks coming this way! You mount your fresh steeds and gallop off from the stables, scattering the startled monks who had just reached the door. In an act of desperation, one of them unsheathes his sword and hurls it at your back. The deadly blade spins through the air with alarming accuracy. If you have the Magna Kai skills of Hunt Mastery and Divination, we rolled really, really badly. We might insta-die. Yeah. The sword strikes you squarely between the shoulder blades, sending you tumbling from the saddle. You fall awkwardly, driving the blade deeper into your back. For countless seconds, you lie staring at the sky, unable to move, feeling nothing. Before the anesthesia of shock wears off, you are surrounded by enemies who show you no mercy. Your life and your quest end here. GG! Lobber dead. Start again. Alright. So, exposition. I liked animal control, although it hasn't proven to be useful. We will yoink some meal. I don't have a backpack yet, fair. We need to deposit some special items, fair. Okay, that looks good. We get our new backpack, and we accept quiver, potion, meal, fire seed, and meal. We hadn't seen any use for lantern, so we'll skip out on lantern. Ah. We have to drop something, you say? Fair enough. I can live without the padded leather waistcoat. So now we have a pass, whatever it is a pass for, we don't know. We will go by barge, same. Tap room. The hold is crowded with travellers on their way north. For most, it is a regular journey home after selling their wares in Phonia. Their purses are full and their mood is friendly, as they pass the time drinking and playing games of chance. One of the crew glances up from serving and, wiping his hands on his apron, hurries over to welcome you to the tavern. He points to a plank table at the far end of the hold that is bowed beneath the weight of several kegs and offers you ale and food. 2 jugs of ale, replies Pado. Certainly, sir. I have 3 fine ales to delight you. Farina Nog, Chai Chia, and Boar. Chai Chia, why not? He hands you a tankard filled to the brim with Chai Chia. You taste the beverage, it is delicious. Bilge juice, says the person that tried Farina Nog. You should be a sight more careful with when you empty your mouth, stranger, growls a man to his right. He bends down and picks up his polished steel helmet. With a slow and deliberate twist of his wrist, he empties it of ale, pouring the contents all over Pado's feet. Your companion curses and reaches for his sword. Try and stop a fight breaking out. We have to buy a guy a beer in order to not get a fight. The barge brings a round of Chai Chia to your table. You drink to the health of Queen Evian. As you drink your ale, the sound of applause rises above the hubbub of conversation. An elderly man, tall and distinguished-looking, walks slowly to the centre of the floor and bows to his audience. His pale face and silver-grey hair are stark contrast to his richly embroidered robes of crimson and gold. He smiles warmly and introduces himself as Count Conundrum, Prince of Puzzles. For your amusement, he will pose some brain-twisting conundrums. So confident is he that none will answer his riddles. He offers 20 loon to any who can prove him wrong. If 1.5 geese lay 1.5 eggs in 1.5 days, how many eggs will 3 geese lay in 8 days? So 1 goose lays 1 egg in... One goose lays 1 egg in 1.5 days. Notepad. 1 goose lays 1 egg in 1.5 days. Three geese Well, 3 goose would therefore lay 3 eggs in 1.5 days. But we need 8 days. So we need to times that by 8 divided by 1.5. $5.333 times 3. 16. They would lay 16 eggs. This is the correct answer. Proceed with your quest. You call out your answer, and at first the man pretends not to hear. Hurriedly, he poses a second puzzle, but the crowd shout him down, insisting that he answer your call. A lucky guess, he says, flustered at the thought of losing 20 loon. Perhaps our friend could explain how he arrived at his answer. You reply that the answer is simple. If 1.5 geese lay 1.5 eggs in 1.5 days, it follows that 3 geese would lay 3 eggs in 1.5 days, or 2 eggs in 1 day, and in 8 days they would lay 16. Yeah, I did the first one of those. The crowd applaud your display of logic, much to the chagrin of Count Conundrum, who reluctantly parts ways with his money. Very well, says Count Conundrum. To make our little journey to Tharo more interesting, is there anyone who can answer my next puzzle? If so, they will receive 40 loon. A chorus of delighted whispers emanates from the crowd. In winter, the ice lilies of Lake Aden double in area every 24 hours. Okay. So x goes to 2x every 24 hours. It takes 60 days from the time the first ice lily appears until the lake is completely covered. On what day is the lake half coloured with lilies? I mean the day before, because it doubles every day. So this is like a trick question where you're like, maybe it will take half the time, but no, because the lilies double in size every day. So if it takes 60 days, then in 59 days is when it's at half. This is correct. What little colour there is on the Count's already pallid face drains away. You played this one? Yes, we are currently on a boat. We're on a boat. But let's not break into rap. The crowd hoots with delight, and he nods his head slowly to affirm that you are correct. As the ice lilies double in number, the lake is half covered on the day before it is fully covered. Begrudgingly, the Count hands over your prize. Which doesn't really matter because we were already at full gold. But hey, we get to look smart. And finally, for my last puzzle, I offer this beautiful treasure, he says as he draws a small silver box inlaid with pearls from his pockets. A priceless artifact stolen from the treasure hoard of Valborg the Enchanter. On hearing this wondrous revelation, the tap room comes alive with excited chatter. You disbelieve the tale of the box's origin, but nevertheless admit that it is a beautiful object, undoubtedly worth at least 100 loon, perhaps more. Silence descends on the hold as everyone awaits the Count's final puzzle. When I was in the market of Garthen, I asked an egg trader how many eggs he had sold that day. My first customer said that he would buy half my eggs and half an egg more. So, customer 1 bought half plus half of all eggs plus 1/2 egg more. Second customer No. Second and third customers did the same thing. Yeah, I don't know how you buy half an egg either. When I had filled all 3 orders, I was completely sold out of eggs. And yet, I hadn't broken a single egg all day. How many eggs had the egg trader sold? So at no stage is the half, like, at each stage, let's call initial eggs X, then eggs after first customer Y, Z, and finally A. Actually, then we should just go back one letter. W, then X, then Y, and finally Z. Okay. Now Z equals 0, because we're told that he has no eggs at the end of it. Now, to go from Y to Z is to purchase half of all eggs and half an egg more. Which logically to be a whole number of eggs, otherwise he'd have to break an egg, the man must have 1 egg, so that he buys half of an egg plus half an egg more. So Y, the amount that remains after the second customer, must be 1. Then, to go from Y to X, the person buys half of all eggs and half an egg more, but leaves him with 1. So if he had 3 eggs, he would buy 2, leaving 1. Because half of all, if the egg vendor had 3 eggs and the person bought half of all eggs, that would be 1.5, plus half an egg more would go up to 2, leaving him with the 1 that we require. And finally, W, to go from X to W. No, that's important. Half of all eggs plus half an egg more leaves him with 3. So 7? Half of 7 would be 3.5, meaning he buys 4. 7 minus 4 is 3. Yes. How many eggs has he sold altogether? He has sold all 7 eggs. He sells 4. Then he sells 2. Then he sells 1. No! What? 0. Oh, I put in 70, not 7. Okay. Oh well, sucks to be me. I misclicked then. Go up on deck and watch them disembark. The hamlet of Honey Lodge is small. 2 cottages, a barn, and a stone watchtower cluster in a circle at the river's edge. A gang of excited young boys wait on the rain-swept jetty to welcome home their fathers, each hoping for a present, perhaps a fishing rod or hunting bow from the marketplace. 8 men, including the Count, disembark. But only one new passenger embarks, a thin individual with hard grey eyes that gleam coldly from beneath a wide-brimmed hat. Slung at his side is a narrow-bladed sword, and in his hand he clutches a leather-bound book, its cover plain and as black as his clothing. He pays his fare and descends to the tap room. I do not have mind screen. A sudden chill makes you shiver. Are you all right? Asks Pado. Perhaps we should go below and shelter from the storm. You answer with a nod and follow him down to the taproom stairs, to the welcoming warmth of the hold. The soldier Trost greets you on your return. Though you don't notice him, you are too busy scanning the hold for the stranger. You see him seated alone at a shadowy corner opposite your table, reading his black book. Trost swallows the last drop of ale and turns his head to see what is distracting you. He catches sight of the new passenger and begins to choke. By the stars! It is Kizor, the necromancer. He pulls a crumpled scroll from within his tunic and unfurls it on the table. On it is a picture of the man's face. The cruel features bear an uncanny resemblance to those of the stranger. Beneath the picture you read, Notice of Death. Kizor, the necromancer, renegade shaman of Moganruith, leader of the forbidden sect of Dazudskul. It is hereby proclaimed by lawful authority that just retribution for his vile acts of black sorcery perpetuated throughout the free lands of Telestria, a bounty of 10,000 loon is offered for the head of this necromancer, by order of Queen Evian of Telestria, on the date of MS 5060. This could be our chance to make a fortune. Sure, we'll attack him. I expect we die. While quietly agreeing upon a plan of action, Pado and Trost approach the necromancer while you guard the stairs. If he should evade your companions, he'll have to contend with you before he escapes. Unhurriedly, you leave your seat and walk to the taproom stairs. When you are in a position, your companions arise and advance towards him. He remains motionless, engrossed in his black book. Trost draws his sword and challenges the man, demanding that he state his name and purpose for his journey. A fatal mistake. The man looks up from his book, his grey eyes suddenly aglow with terrible red fire. Trost screams and his face becomes a mass of horrible erupting boils. As he falls to the floor, Pado strikes, his sword a shimmering lance of blue steel, forged by the Elder Magi. His attack is lightning fast, but the necromancer counters his blow on the edge of his own blade. Sparks explode, showering the taproom with glowing fragments. The crowd begins to cheer, but their cheers turn to screams of terror when the necromancer summons his new defense. A horde of huge black spiders carpets the floor, their bulbous bellies crouched on hairy, angular legs. With a sudden rush, they scuttle towards Pado, their eyes glinting and their mandibles gaping wide. I do have a bow. Random number table go. Add 3 because we are weapon mastery. We get a very high score. Plus we also have the silver bow. You fire your arrow and hit the necromancer, twisting him around and pitching him over as the shaft passes right through his arm. Although wounded, he scrambles to his feet. Kizor shrieks in frustration. He renews his attack on Pado by creating more of the hideous creatures, but your companion uses his battle magic to summon fire to his aid. From the tip of his sword, a sheet of flame wafts down among the spiders, closing in for the kill. They flare brightly, their legs withering in the flames. Their crackling black bodies drop to the floor, crumbling to dust. "Attack!" shouts Pado, and together you advance against your foe. Kizor draws his sword and mouths a silent spell of protection as he prepares to engage you both in a combat to the death. He is immune to Mind Blast. Fight, 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 fight. Fight, he cost us barely nothing. If you win, turn to this page. He lies dead, but Tato warns you not to approach the body. I've heard tell that these evil priests can awaken after death to avenge themselves. Stand back and I will make sure this one never haunts us. He raises his sword and severs the head from the body with one swift stroke. Both eyes spring open, revealing eyes burning red with hatred, but the fire dies quickly and the eyes turn a misty grey. There, it is done, Pato says, wiping his sword on his tunic sleeve. He steps back and looks around. Where is Trost? You cast your eyes to the place where he fell and see a fire-blackened body, covered with the remains of incinerated spiders. There he is, you say. Sadly, Pato takes a blanket from his backpack and drapes it over the corpse before reciting the words of the Canurla, a Vakeros prayer for those who have fallen in battle. In the name of the gods, what's happening here? Thunders the captain as he comes down into the tap room. A crowd of passengers huddle in his wake, frightened but curious to discover the outcome of the fight that has devastated the hold. I'll see you pay for this, he blusters. It'll cost hundreds of loons to pay this damage. Pay up now or I'll have it from your hides. Pato snatches the cloth from the nearby table, scoops up the head of Kniazor, wrapping it tightly in cord. He tosses the gruesome package to the captain. That'll pay for the damage, and be sure that the balance goes to the family of this brave soldier, or we'll take it from your hide. Cough, cough, cough. As the captain reads the scroll, a wry grin spreads slowly across his weather-worn face. So Kizor has met his doom on my barge. Maybe I'll leave the hold just as it is. There's plenty of folk who would pay to see the place where this rogue ended his days. The captain orders the crew to prepare the corpses for burial. The barge carries Kizor's remains. You notice his black book lying on the floor. If you have the skill of divination, turn here. You sense that the book contains details of acts and rituals that are evil. It is an unholy book, but one which is not protected by a curse or a trap. Examine it. Cautiously, you open the book. The pages are made of metal as thin and flexible as silk-weave parchment. Complex words and symbols are etched onto the shiny surface with an ink that shimmers like sunlight on the sea. The strange designs are unlike any you've seen before, but you sense that they are evil. You are about to discard the book when you notice something tucked into its spine, a tiny scroll of parchment. You unfurl it and your pulse quickens, for it contains a message written in Giak, the language of the servants of the Dark Lords. If you wish to keep the scroll, mark it on your action chart. Sure. I need to throw something away. We'll get rid of the pass. The stench of scorched fur hangs heavily on the taproom, a reminder of the ghastly spiders. The smell turns your stomach, and you motion to Pato to follow you as you get up on deck to watch the barges dispose of the bodies. Contemptuously, they weigh Kizor's corpse with bricks and hurl it over the side, but truced they lay in an oaken chest, and the captain leads your fellow passengers in prayer as it is lowered respectfully into the river. The heavy rain and the burial have delayed the journey somewhat. The barges try to make up for lost time by whipping the Gorkas, but it is no use. The mud towpath and their waterlogged fur prevent them from pulling any faster. It is mid-afternoon by the time your barge arrives at the next stopping place, the ferry house. A ramshackle building is perched precariously on the edge of the riverbank, and an old wooden jetty juts from its side, its empty platform almost submerged by the swollen river. Two plains farmers disembark here. You hear them talking excitedly about the events they have witnessed, and their voices gradually fading as the barges move forwards again. Rolling Ninja asks, what is my favourite one so far? I quite like the Sands of Cart. Is it the Sands of Cart? The one set in the desert, where it's like in two distinct halves. You stare across the lush, open plains that border the river, contemplating the quest that lies ahead. A flock of long-necked orcals fly. Okay, so we could once again try going to Flagon Alley, which got us nothing. So we'll try Copperpiece Lane instead this time. We will investigate a Fletcher's building. They will sell arrows, a bow, quivers, wrist and finger guards. What the hell does that do? bow cases, and bowstrings. Wait, go back. I possess the silver bow of Duodon. The bowyer owner, a bony man with a ratty beard and moustache, habitually tugs, whilst he talks, takes special interest in your bow. He asks if he may have the pleasure of firing a flight of arrows. There is an indoor archery range at the rear of his bowyer. Sure. The archery range is a long and narrow room. You hand over the silver bow. He chooses 3 arrows. He practices with the bow. Head, he says, and releases the shaft. The bow of Duodon. He hits it. Rump, he calls. Shooting it in the rump. And now, he says, the heart of the wolf. He turns and fires. The arrow comes screaming towards your chest. We roll poorly. And we are insta-killed. Ay, ay, ay. This book is really pushing the, pushing our number up. Okay, we get the intro, and welcome, Dutchy. Yes, same skills. Yes, same thing. We don't have a backpack yet. We must get rid of some of our special items. Yeah, here. Silver bow of Duodon. There, we're down to a... And you know what? We're going to store some more gold because we get too much at the start. We'll make it 20. We get a backpack. We will take quiver. Grenades. Potion. Rope. Lantern. No meals. So we're taken by Lord Amadeus again. We'll travel by road like the first time. We will check out the mill this time instead of the inn. Padio dismounts and peers through a cracked window set in the rough stone base of the mill. It looks deserted, he comments, his sharp eyes probing the gloomy interior. How about up there, you suggest, pointing to a platform that juts out from the side. Padio climbs a rickety wooden staircase that clings precariously to the mouldering stonework. Just as he reaches the top, he halts midair, raises his hand and above his head. He must be in danger. I can't become invisible, so sucks to be us. You watch with bated breath as the point of a sphere moves slowly into view. Its wet tip glistening dangerously. A man's voice, gruff and demanding, challenges him to state good reason for trespassing or suffer the consequences. Padio answers with a sound far louder than you could ever imagine having been made by a human voice. The force of his shout hits the man like a clenched fist, slamming him backwards through the timber parapet. He lands with a dull splash, spread-eagled atop a mound of manure and rotten vegetation. Vakeros power word, explains Padio. In answer to your unspoken question, someday I will teach you this technique. Search the mill. Inside the mill, 2 great granite stones grind corn at a terrific speed, powdered by the flow of the swollen stream water. A ladder ascends through a hole to a ceiling in a tiny room above the milling chamber. It is sparsely furnished. There is a bed and a chair and a wooden chest. The chest contains a map, enough food for 1 meal, and an axe. Get rid of the pass, say hello to the map. There's space for another meal, so why not? The rain beats down relentlessly as you ride the featureless highway to Tharrow. Thunder rumbles over the western hills like like the growl of doom wolves stalking their prey. We will ride the other way and see if we can buy the potion from the lady. We will use our divination. What if we try and pay respect to the deceased this time? As you approach, the monks step back from the grave and draw themselves into a line. Their hooded heads stay bowed, and their hands remain hidden inside the generous folds of their robes. You ask the name of the deceased, but the echo of your voice and a constant drip of the steady rain is your only answer. All at once, as if in response to a silent signal, the monks throw back their hoods to reveal ghastly, fleshless faces. "By the gods!" gasps Pado. They emit a hideous shriek, panicking your horses. As you fight to control the frightened animal, the skeletal monks spring forward. We do have the summer sword. As you unsheath the sun sword, the shimmering pulse of golden flame is emitted from its tip. Your attackers hesitate as the light washes over their hellish faces. They shriek with malice and leap forwards once more, their bony hands clutching weapons of black steel hidden beneath their robes. Ooh. I don't know if you heard that, but Doggo roared. Unless you possess the Magnakai skill of animal control, you lose 3 points of combat skill because they're scaring your horsey. They are undead to Mind Blast. Fight. 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 They barely scratch us. Poor undead can't stand up to the summer sword. Your ears are filled with a loathsome hissing as the bodies of the slain enemies dissolve into the mud. You stare at the smouldering remains, and a cold chill grasps your heart. You speculate on why these foul servants came to the sleepy Telestrian hamlet. Inside the abbey, you discover a grisly answer. Scattered throughout the chambers and corridors are the bodies of dead monks. Their lifeless faces frozen in masks of horror. Several have been stripped of their robes, presumably to provide disguises for their killers. "Why would the Dark Lords want to take control of the Abbey?" asks Pado, horrified at the sight of the slaughter. "I fear it is part of their plan to conquer Telestria," you reply. "It is always their strategy to infiltrate the land with agents before invasion. When invasion is launched, the agents rise up and attack from within." "You think that the Dark Lords plan to invade Telestria?" says Pado, aghast. "I suspect their plan is already underway. Perhaps the destruction of Lukos was masterminded not in Zanar, but in Helgadad." Pado helps you bury the monks in the graves already dug by their killers. As you cover the last of the bodies with soil, you notice a small pearl-shaped stone lying on the pathway. It is speckled blue, mirror-smooth, and despite its size, feels remarkably heavy. You suspect it is very valuable and decide to keep it. Mark the lodestone on your action chart as a special item. You must discard a different item to carry it. If you wish to wait here for the barge, turn to this. If you wish to investigate the ferry house... I have not met Jaco. I would like to ask about your daughter. I will pay the money. So because we didn't know the brother the brother in this timeline, we have to pay for access. I would like to grab all of these potions. Yes, please. Get rid of a meal. Okay. Now, we pay to catch the boat. We will go to the one that we haven't been to before, Globe Walk. You follow the foot-worn cobbles of Globe Walk, past the premises of coopers, cobblers, and carpenters, to an open square where you see a sign pointing to an alley that disappears among the shadows. Let's not go down the alley, seeing as this city has killed us. You arrive at a flagged stone quadrangle. Temple of the Sword. We do have the map. You discover the watchtower at the top of the hill is called the Shield Walden Tower. If you have the discipline of pathmanship. Okay, we will go to the monk's thing. I will go without food. The monks are upset by your refusal to eat. The monks hurry out of the refectory, and minutes later, they return in the company of an elderly man. Has the Vacarus eaten, he asks. Yes, but the Kai Lord refused. You sense that this is a powerful evil. We use our bow. Summon the brothers, commands the menacing black figure. You draw an arrow and fire, felling one of the brown-robed monks. Keep shooting. You draw and fire an arrow at the monk's head. At the same time, he spins his black staff with incredible speed and dexterity, creating a whirl of darkness. There is a brief flash as your arrow enters a spinning vortex and is smashed to fragments. Before the fragments settle on the floor, you shoulder your bow and draw your hand weapon. The sinister monk is shocked by the speed and ferocity of your attack, but he recovers his senses in time to parry with his black staff. A splash of hissing sparks lights the room as your weapon scrapes along the jet black pole and glances off its twisting tip. You raise your arms to strike again, but are distracted by Pydo's scream of alarm. His face is deathly pale, and his arms are trembling. With a groan he collapses, hitting the floor. I don't have Psi Screen. We lose 8 health. We do have the Summer Sword. He is just as skilled as before, and this time we have lost a significant fraction of health before the fight. Still, we do double damage, because he's undead. Ooh, we can't take more than one more of those hits. 8 HP left. Win combat turn here. Keep shooting. Before this, I'm going to use a potion, please. Potion of Lamspur. Use. Yes. Can I use this? Can I use this? Yes, I'm going to use that as well. I need another healing. Okay, 19 health is a bit more reasonable. I guess I will use our potion because we can. Ow. Okay. Okay. Yes. You have barely survived this encounter. You are gravely injured and should heal. Woof. Holy mackerel, that was close. If you win combat turn here, you hear approaching footfalls and the yap of hounds. Without further delay, you pull yourself up through the hatch and tumble into the kitchen. You jump to your feet and scan the room, your weapon poised to strike any would-be attackers. Fortunately, the place is empty. The cooks have been summoned to the refectory. You sheath your weapon, lift Pato across your shoulder, and run to the open door at the far end of the kitchen. As you pass a steaming cauldron of stew, you catch sight of a stoppered vial of clear liquid. You stop to pocket it. At the end of the corridor are a wooden door and a staircase that ascends to the floor above. Sure, we'll pick up the poison thing. I have to drop something. Goodbye. Diamond? I should have dropped that off at the monastery, but whatever. I do have divination. A strong aura of good emanates from the room above. You suspect that it is a place of worship. However, the aura masks your ability to detect if the room is occupied. Sure. At the top of the stairs, you pass through an archway and step into the prayer hall. A central aisle separates the pews of white wood, and there is a golden pulpit with a fascia shaped to resemble a flaming sword. You rest Pato on a pew and examine the glass vial you found in the kitchen. Your fears and suspicions are confirmed. It's poison. The clear, sticky fluid is sap from the gnadern tree, a substance frequently used by assassins because its lack of flavor and scent. The monks must have put some of the poison in the food Pato unwittingly consumed. The sap is deadly, and you must act quickly if you are to save his life. You hear the sound of running feet and the growl of dogs. Off the leash at the bottom of the stairs. You shoulder your burden, carrying Pato towards the end of the hall, and search for the exit. Behind a drawn curtain, you discover a door, but it is locked and bolted. The noise of your pursuers grow louder. No, I'll hide in the pulpit. You climb the stairs to the pulpit and are able to rest Pato in the recess behind its short, sword-shaped fascia. By chance, his tunic snags on a hidden lever, and as the body slumps over, the lever is pulled to one side. A secret door is revealed. A passageway to the hall beneath. Carefully, you pull him off the platform and raise him into a sitting position, his back against the passage wall. The platform rises back into the pulpit. In the silence of this secret passage, all you can hear is the shallow breathing of your unconscious companion. You lift one of his eyelids and note the almond-shaped iris is fully dilated. Your basic Kai skills teach you that he's in a coma. Cure him. You concentrate. We fix him. They were a Hellgast? How could this be? Etc., etc., same as last time. The giant fly thing activates the reflecting mirror thing. I will refill our arrows. And take meal. We will enter the stables. Seriously? Seriously? Insta-killed. Two times in a row this person has insta-killed us. Grrr. I think that's 4 for this book. This book is merciless. Diamond. Key. Whistle. Whistle. Dagger. Platinum amulet. The rest is fine. Deposit some money. Continue. Quiver. Healing potion. Meal. Grenades. Rope. Okay, same as normal. We will travel by ride. We will do what we've never done before and ignore both the inn and the mill. And it just takes you to the next place. Okay, we'll go east. We will fight these guys again. Summer sword at the ready. Very good. Seriously? Get rid of the pass so that I have the space. Oh, that is not the kind of pass that I thought it was. So I shouldn't have gotten rid of that. We'll get rid of the padded waistcoat then. Well... yeah, I don't need this map. Well, actually, no. We've not seen the grenades be useful this playthrough yet. We'll get rid of the grenades. So pick up the object, continue, investigate the house, pay the money. She gives us the healing potions. Continue. Pay the money. We've gone everywhere. None of them seem to do anything. Okay, if you ignore the first interactable, the street twists and turns northwards, passing the entrance to a wooden-fronted barracks. As you watch, a group of soldiers, armed with spears, emerges in a column, escorting a prisoner whose hands are tied behind his back. At the junction of another street, they turn into a courtyard of whitewashed brick. Above the courtyard gate flutters a Telestrian flag. We will go in. "What do you want here?" growls a guard. I have a pass, so we will show it. You show the pass. Thinking that you are reaching for a weapon and that he is armed, he shouts, "Stop them!" A crowd of soldiers turn and come running towards you, leaving their prisoner unguarded. He seizes the opportunity to make his escape. "Lone Wolf, look out!" says Pado. As a guard lunges for you with his spear, he grazes you. The soldiers are unlikely to listen to reason. You can only hope to evade them. Wow, even with +2 we got 0. You insta-die. Oh my god. You know what? No animal control. We are taking Hunt Mastery instead, so that we can't be surprised. The grenades wouldn't have done anything there. So, getting rid of the grenades is fine. Whistle, key, diamond, whistle, dagger, amulet, map. Good. Store some money. Proceed. Quiver, healing, grenades, rope, lantern. Whoops, wrong button. We gotta do it again. Quiver, rope, potion, lantern, grenades. Do. So same thing, we're travelling with the captain. We ride. We ignore everything because it gets us there quicker. We ride east. We fight the monks. We use the summer sword. Fight, 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 die. Barely scratch us. Investigate the ferry house. Pay for access to the healing lead. Accept all the healing potions. Pay the money for the boat fare. Okay, this time we'll go the second one, but continue. We do have pathmanship. We will investigate the offer. We do not eat the food. We fight them. We shoot them. We do have the Summer Sword. That's no good. Oh, come on! I should have used a healing potion between that screen and this. We've never needed a healing potion against those before. We're sticking with Hunt Mastery. This was getting a bit ridiculous. This book has killed us almost as many times now as all the other books put together. Whistle, key, diamond, whistle, dagger, map, platinum amulet, deposit money, go. Quiver, rope, potion, lantern, grenades. Ride. We will stop at the end so that we don't have to pay for... Stop, talk about his sister so that we don't have to pay for the healing thing here. East. Kill these guys. Thank you. Ferry house. We have met the dwarf. Take the healing potions. Pay to cross the thing. We'll go here and then go ignore and continue along the street. It still takes you to the Temple of the Sword. Pathsmanship. Yes. No. Divination. Shoot. Shoot. Okay. Heal. Fight. Woof. One hit point. You have died. We both died though. Boo. This thing, like, we won against this thing 5 times in a row. And now it's killed us twice in a row. Same. Power key, whistle, map, whistle, diamond, platinum thing, dagger, deposit money, proceed, yes, quiver, rope, potion, lantern, grenades. Ride. Stop. Talk. Ask him about sister. Proceed to sister. But first, smite these people. They barely scratch us. No. Ferry house. Met brother. Potion. Okay. Pay for the boat. Flag and alley. Continue. Craftsmanship. Yes. Accept the health loss. Divination. Bow. Shoulder bow and continue. We don't have Psi screen. Heal once. We do have the Summer Sword. Fight. Use our performance-enhancing drugs as he's killed us twice in a row without them. Yeah, and then we kill him in 3 rounds and barely take a third of our health. That's more like it. Shoot. Okay. Pick it up. We do have divination. Climb the stairs. It was hide in the pulpit. We do have curing. This, we break the thing. Arrow, arrow. Meal, meal. Now, is the guy going to successfully throw the sword into our back for a 3rd bloody time? I have Hunt Mastery and Divination, right? So I can no longer fail this. Yes. The sword whistles past your head and gouges a chunk of stone from the courtyard art. You hear the monks shouting and dig in your heels, steering your horses through the archway and along the narrow streets that lead to the quadrangle. At this early hour, there are few obstacles to slow your escape as you gallop headlong through the twisting streets of Tharrow. It's not until you reach the town's north gate that you finally rein in your horse. The North Gate guards, tired after a long night's watch, grumble wearily at your demand for the gate to be opened. What's the hurry? It's a matter of life and death, is it? Sneers the other. The porter, he only missed because we brute forced it by changing our skills at the start, Solar. He is 100% accurate in terms of killing us, when the odds against it are pretty astronomical. The portcullis finally clanks open. You leave the town, riding the broken dirt track towards the distant hills and the frontier town of Siada. Grey-brown grasses brush your shins as you cross the wild, uncultivated plain. Accompanying your ride is an unnatural silence, broken only by the occasional cawing of ravens circling like vultures overhead. By midday, you are among the hills. The terrain becomes increasingly rocky, undulating like a storm-tossed ocean. The tall plains grass has given way to sad little plants, scraggy and deformed, stunted by the winds that sweep down from the barren wastes of Ogier. The track passes through a narrow valley where a small stone cabin stands beside the entrance to a disused mine shaft. As you approach the cabin, you see a face at the window. We'll stop at the cabin. You peer through, you see a face, but it now looks... You saw a face, but it now looks deserted. Is anyone at home? I have divination. You sense that someone is hiding behind the door. Sure, we'll have our weapon ready. You push open the door and step inside, your weapon poised to counter any sudden attack. The door slams shut and a scar-faced rogue leaps from the shadows and attacks you with a pickaxe. We insta-kill him on round 2. He barely scratches us. The rogue slumps dead at your feet. Seconds later, the door to the back room splinters and breaks as Pydo hacks through it with his sword. What kept you so long, you ask cheekily, when finally the door gives way and he staggers, sweating and exhausted, into the room. He smiles ruefully and, after pausing to catch his breath, invites you to come and see what he found in the back room. Small sacks filled with nuggets of silver, stacked in a huge mound. No wonder he fought so desperately. There's enough silver here to pay a king's ransom. So we could fill our bag with money. Who needs to eat when you could have money? Who needs rope when you could have potential money? Or a lantern? Give up all these potentially winning items because we're greedy. Investigate the mine. An old wooden board nailed across the entrance to the shaft warns you to stay away. It was closed down shortly after the main tunnel collapsed. 20 miners were buried alive and their names are carved into the pit props that surround the entrance. You scan the names, you hear the tap of a hammer breaking stone in the depths of the shaft. Well, if it's too dangerous, we're going to say no. The track continues along the rock-strewn valley floor, through a thicket of stunted trees, and climbs slowly towards the ridge of hills, their peaks worn smooth by countless years of wind and harsh weather. Sometimes you can't, Salar. If you're traveling out in the wild, you can't eat for food. You can't eat money. But we also took Hunt Mastery, which usually means that we can eat everywhere that isn't like desert or Arctic tundra or a huge city by hunting. You stop briefly by the... One sec, sorry. Greed has never killed us? Correct. You stop briefly at a babbling stream to allow your horse to drink. Your rumbling stomach reminds you that it is time to eat. Speaking of, eat food, we can use hunting. When the horses have quenched their thirst, you continue to climb the ridge. You reach the crest and stare down on a sight that sends a shiver down your spine. In the distance, you see a pole of dense black smoke rising to the sky. At its base, a fortress wall, and a cluster of cottages feeding the greedy flames. To the north of the doomed tower, an army... Oh, it should be domed. Or maybe doomed. Tower, an army of black-clad warriors covers the hills. The black wolf-head banners of Ogier sway on long poles, fluttering grimly above the ranks of the merciless horde. Along the track, a great procession of men, women and children come towards you, some on horseback, some in carts, and some with bundles of possessions clutched to their soot-blackened chests. They stumble forward in silence, their eyes filled with terror and despair. A soldier, bleeding from a wound to his head, rides past the crest shouting, "Turn back! Turn back! The armies of darkness are coming!" It's impossible to continue along this track northwards. The dirt road is blocked by refugees from Sadia, and the Ogian horde are poised to launch an attack. Only 2 courses of action are left. You can turn back along the track or ride west across the hills towards the Mordil forest. Now the sorceress, the prediction lady said the forest was the right one, so we will go west. You and Pato wheel your horses around and follow the crest of the ridge. Expertly, you manage to steer them down a steep bank of loose shale and then on at a brisk pace along the dried-out gully. Soon the gully becomes a stream of sparkling water fed by an underground spring. A rumble, like the sound of a distant storm, warns you that the armies of Zegron, war chief of Ogier, are now less than 20 miles away. You follow the stream until it enters a long corridor of towering trees that descends towards the bank of a swift-flowing brook, a tributary of the river Siad. You stop there briefly to bathe your faces in icy water and stare at the mass of blue-green giant trees that fill the western horizon. The Mordrill Forest, says Padillo. It was once a wondrous forest, a place of light and goodness. The trees grew strong, and the birds and beasts were the fairest of any forest breed. But the Mordrill has grown dark and dismal of late. The Danarg encroaches, feeding its sickness to the soil, poisoning the saplings and creatures that dwell there. It is a doomed forest, doomed to become part of the Danarg swamps. We possess pathmanship. At first you think the tracks are those of a black bear, the paw prints being of a similar size, but closer examination changes your mind. These prints were left behind by a biped, a two-footed animal that walks upright. You have never before come across tracks like these, and judging by the size of the prints, you would be happier to avoid the creature that made them. Like three more page turns and our healing will have full healed us. You urge your horse up the steep bank and across the fallen branches that litter the trail beyond. Less than a mile from the brook, you hear the sound of rushing water. The track bears north, and you see a roaring waterfall cascading into a rocky pool, its surface lost in a cloud of fine spray. A huge tree has fallen across the pool, creating a bridge, and the tracks lead straight to it. You're halfway across the tree bridge, looking down at the swirling spray and foaming water below, when a ghastly howl rings above the thunder of the waterfall. You look up and stare slack-jawed at the creature that is advancing towards you. Holy moly! The creature gives a strange snickering cry. Yes, if you choose the healing skill, Salar, then you recover 1 HP with every page turn, where you don't otherwise suffer damage. It is, as far as I'm concerned, the single best skill, at least for the first series of books and the middle series of books. I don't remember if it's the best for the last series. It is a huge pear-shaped beast with a hunched back and a white lizard-like head. Awkwardly, it shuffles upright on 2 large, hairy paws. At first glance, it looks as if 2 totally separate creatures have been joined together at the waist. The lower half is covered with coarse, spiky fur. The upper is pale and hairless, heavily veined, with long, sinewy forearms. It raises its snout to savor the smell of your frightened horse and opens its fanged jaws. I do have a bow. We shoot it. We do quite well because of bow mastery plus the silver bow. Your arrow enters the creature's mouth, transfixing its tongue to the back of its throat. It gurgles and chomps on its feathered shafts, its clawed fingers scrabbling to pull the arrow free. In its frenzy, it loses its footing and slips. Throwing its arms instinctively to steady itself, its claws ensnare your horse's bridle, and as it topples from the tree bridge, it pulls your horse and you over the edge. We have hunt mastery, so we cannot be insta-killed. You leap from the saddle, narrowly avoid being pulled off the tree bridge. Your horse and the hideous creature disappear below from view, quickly swallowed up by the spray of the waterfall. As you land on the slippery wet wood, Pido's horse rears on its hind legs, its forelegs kicking in the air and its eyes rolling madly. He fights to control the animal, but it is wild with fear and with a crack of splintering wood. Its hind hoof shears, it's hard to say, hind hoof shears through a rotten branch. It totters on the brink. Pido swings his legs clear and abandons the doomed horse barely seconds before it falls into the watery abyss. For a few minutes you stare silently at the pool below. Nothing stirs in the seething waters to record the loss of your horses or the passing of the dreadful Anafeg. All 3 have disappeared without a trace. The distant thunder of battle pervades your thoughts, prompting you to leave the tree bridge and move deeper into the forest. The tall trees become denser, forcing you to turn your body sideways in order to make progress. The gradually dense undergrowth turns to a carpet of moss and blue-black lichen which clings to your boots like mud. A chill overwhelms you. as a thick and pearly mist seeps from the cracks beneath the trees. The many sounds of the forest have disappeared, to be replaced by a cold and eerie silence. I don't need either of those items. Twilight is approaching. As the sky above darkens, a black bird flies among the upper branches, emitting a shrill cry which sounds unnaturally loud in a silent forest. It settles, stares at you, and for a few minutes, then flaps away. A little later, you stumble on a clearing. Shafts of ghostly moonlight pour through a gap in a black canopy of leaves, revealing a mound of earth rising out of the forest mist. You are exhausted after your day's event and agree to stop here. Pado takes a gold crown from his pocket and tosses it in the air to decide who should take first watch. Using your Kai skill, you find it easy to detect that the coin will show heads. Pado reveals the coin. You have chosen correctly. You decide to take second watch. You settle down and rest. Restore 3 health. 4 hours later, you take over watch. Your vigil passes uneventfully, and the darkness of night gives way to the gloomy grey of dawn. You wake your companion and prepare to set off once more. Your sense of time slips away as you trek through the seemingly endless expanse of bleak grey trees. Slowly, you become aware that you are on an incline, and your passage becomes steeper. You notice large outcrops of pitted volcanic rock. We're approaching the Denarg crater, says Pado, his quietly spoken words echoing loudly through the eerie forest. Suddenly you recall the words of Lord Ramoa during your period of preparation. The Denarg occupies the crater of an ancient and massive volcano. Once it was a lush jungle of fertile vegetation, but now it is a cancerous wound that poisons all who dwell there. By noon, you have climbed to the lip of the crater and begun your descent. Gradually, the tall, straight trees of the Morgul forests thin, giving way to twisted trunks and stunted saplings. As the land sinks deeper and deeper. Imperceptibly, the forest ends and the swamp begins. The ground is softer and tall. Black rushes appear in clumps around misty pools of stagnant water. From tortured husks of trees hang thorny vines, as tough and as cruel as sharpened steel wire. So thickly are they entwined around some of the trees that they have strangled them, leaving empty coils where the trunks have rotted. The stench of decay fills your nose in the humid yet cold air. You wade through ankle-deep slime for nearly an hour before reaching the edge of a huge murky pool. Whirls and eddies disturb its surface, warning you of a creature that lurks below. We do have passmanship, and we have reached the high rank. Your skills warn you that to the north a tribe of hungry swamp creatures lurks at the edge of the pool in search of prey. You would make an excellent meal for them. To the south, the tracks take you away from the heart of the swamp, but further from your goal. We will brave the swamp creatures in order to get towards our goal. The withered trees are grouped more densely here, around the northern edge of the pool. A ceiling of vines crisscross above your head, and creatures slither against your ankles as you wade through the foul-smelling mud. Progress is slow. Suddenly, fearful screams, like the baying of rabid dogs, sound from a mist-enshrouded trees ahead. A host of creeping creatures, each an arm length taller than a man, rise from hiding places. Black water drips from their corpse-green hides. Their toad-like faces betray their evil intent as they slither and shuffle towards you. Shoot them! You load, aim, and fire in a swift second, sending your arrow whistling into the mottled underbelly of the swamp creatures. Croaking in pain, it twists and falls, churning the pool to a bubbling brown froth as it frantically tries to grip the shaft between its webbed claws. The green-eyed serpents break through the surface and embraces the creature in its coils. The struggle is brief and the swamp water stills. All cries as the serpent and its victim sink from view. The sight of the serpent distracts you, and you do not see a lizard beast creeping up on you from the side until it is leaping through the air towards you. The creature's sucker-like hands seal around your waist as you fight to unsheath your weapon. You must fight as if unarmed for the first 2 rounds of combat. Now we get the summer sword back and we destroy it in a single hit. If you win combat, turn here. You leap over the twitching body of the Zlorg and help Pado, who is Being forced perilously close to the pool's edge by 3 more of the growling swamp creatures, you strike from behind, breaking the back of one with a downstroke and opening the side of another with a swing of your weapon. Pato falls, clutching an arm torn deeply by needle-sharp talons. His attackers turn on you, darting its head towards your throat with lightning speed. Its jaws gape wide as it lashes out, with a sticky tongue, spraying your eyes with stinging saliva. You bend forward, your hands wiping the spittle from your face. A reflex action which saves you from the creature's grip as it leaps forward to strangle you. Suddenly it lets out a gurgling croak and falls forward with a thick splash. You stagger back and open bloodshot eyes to see it lying face down in the mire, with Pato's dagger embedded in its back. "Look!" screams your companion as the last of the Zlorg attack you from behind. Barely a scratch. Because we had Hunt Mastery, we couldn't be surprised as much by the surprise attack. The Zlorg gurgles its last breath and falls dead, writhing briefly in the mud before becoming still with an uncanny abruptness. You turn to Pato and drag him away from the pool's edge, his arm bleeding, which is attracting a horde of hungry leeches. You leave the pool and press along the muddy trail, glancing back once. No signs remained of the dead Zlorg. Their bodies have already been reclaimed by the creatures of the pool. You tend to Pato's wound, using your basic Kai knowledge of healing to prevent an infection, before continuing deeper into the swamp. The ankle-deep ooze that borders the pool gives way to firmer ground, and you arrive shortly at a place where a tree bearing blood-red fruit overhangs a pool of clear water. You stop here to rest and dislodge the tiny leeches feasting on your legs. Pato climbs the tree to scan the horizon. He carries with him a star guider, a homing device invented by the Elder Maggie to enable their flying ships to navigate in the dark. It is sensitive to the vibrations of cornelium crystals. The spire of the Temple of Orido is solid cornelium. And the Elder Magi have sent Pato's star guider to help you home in on the vibrations emitted by the spire. Following the direction of the vibrations, you should be able to find the lost temple. While he's busy adjusting it, what do? Examine the red fruit, examine the clear pool. Sure, I'll examine the clear pool. The water looks fresh and clean, and you are tempted to wash away the swamp grime. No. When Pato finally climbs down from the tree, his face betrays his anxiety. What's wrong? There is no signal, he replies. I've scanned in every direction, but the Starfinder can detect no cornelium. If it isn't damaged, I'm sure of that, it must be that the temple has disappeared. You take the device from his hand and climb the twisted tree trunk. He shouts instructions, and you set the star guider into operation, scanning the horizon and waiting for a telltale click that will reveal the direction of the lost temple. But Pato is right. There is no signal. And without a signal, there is no hope of finding the Lore Stone. You're about to abandon the search and jump down from the tree when you spot something you hadn't noticed before. An island of red volcanic rocks rising from the mire, one of its 4 flat-topped islands grouped in a diamond close to the east edge of the crater. Perhaps the temple is on the other side of the island. Perhaps that is why the Starguider emits no signal. 'Tis possible, he says thoughtfully. Hope returns and your spirit rises with the expectation of finding the lost temple beyond the Isle of Red Rock. You set off without delay, anxious to cover the 10-mile trek before sunsets and darkness engulfs the Denard. For the most part, the swamp mire is firm underfoot, and the inhabitants pose no problem that can't be solved with a few shouts or well-placed weapon blows. But as the sky darkens and you draw nearer to the plateau, the going becomes more difficult. A carpet of vines, thick with mould, covers a surface of muddy holes and hollows. Often, a seeming puddle proves to be a bottomless fissure. Progress becomes slow, and you fear that you will never reach the island before dark. Pato is leading the way across a tangled mat of barbed vines when a wave disturbs the muddy ooze below. Suddenly, the great head of a silver swamp python bursts through the rotting creepers and raises its tree-thick coils high in the air. Awesome jaws set with double-tiered fangs tower above you, glistening in the fading light. A drop of venom falls from the fangs and sets the quagmire burning. I don't have animal control, so we must fight the great swamp snake. Fight. We insta-kill it by rolling critical success. If you win combat, turn here. The arrival of the swamp python frightened away the crawling denizens of the mire, but now they are returning to satisfy their curiosity. Hordes of slithering lizard beasts gather at the edge of the floating morass, inching their way nearer as they assess your strength and weakness. Relentlessly, you push your way through the soggy vegetation until you reach the ragged rock wall of the island, urged on all the way by a hissing chorus of swamp creatures. Long streamers of moss-covered vines hang down the red rock wall, inviting you to climb onto the plateau above after the uncertain ground of the swamp. The hard, jagged rock is a welcome relief. You make good progress, reaching the top just in time to have the sun sink into a sea of scarlet mist that shrouds the east Danarg. In the failing light, you discover a trail that winds northwards. We do possess huntmanship. Even in the failing light, you can see the trail is frequently used. The spongy vegetation is crushed flat, and a profusion of tracks are imprinted upon the loamy soil. The tracks are made by man-sized creatures, barefooted and web-toed. Close to the main trail winds another, less obvious track. For some reason, someone or something has gone to great lengths to keep this path secret. Sure, follow the secret trail. A full moon and a cloudless sky make your passage along the secret path easier. It follows a tortuous route through tall plants, around mossy mounds full of crawling insects, past dark entrances to underground warrens, and skirts the fringe of a thicket of trees. Pado halts and crouches down, ignoring the bloated spiders that scuttle around his knees, and points through a gap in the trees to a settlement of crudely made huts. Dark shapes move between them, human once but far from human now. Gagrum, the man-beasts of the Danarg. In the distance, past the Ganam, were a gentle primitive folk who lived as one with the animals and birds, cared for by the elder mages in their jungle paradise. But the Danarg has changed them, and so they have changed, poisoned by the evil that conquered the land. Sure, keep travelling down the secret path without visiting the corrupted animal people. An hour passes and you breathe a sigh of relief, glad to have left the settlement behind. You forego a rest and press on along the track until you reach a promontory of rock on the northwest tip of the island. You stop and snatch some sleep while you wait for the dawn. Day breaks, and the view it brings fills you with awe. Perched on this rocky peak, you can see the sheer vastness of the swamp in all its frightening glory for the first time. Pado activates the star geyser, scanning the horizon, but even before the telltale clicks are heard, your eagle eyes have spotted the glimpse of the temple's cornelium spike. To the west, beyond a sea of prickly green-black vegetation, stands the Temple of Orido, imprisoned but unaffected by the swamp. The howl of the Gangharim echoes across the island as you make your descent, by rope and vine to the wetlands below. You reach the rocky base and set off across the mudflats, following the star guider's signal now that the spire is hidden from the swamp by the swamp mist. We roll okay. Stop at noon to eat food. The star guider's honing signal has increased. Pado is optimistic. We'll reach the temple before sundown. You've avoided the more hostile inhabitants, but dangers lurk everywhere. Eat. We can hunt. It is late afternoon when you see the temple rising majestically from the swamp mists and tangled vegetation. The sight of this towering ziggurat is so breathtaking that you are both stunned to silence as you feast your eyes on its untarnished splendor. Tier upon tier of gleaming white stone, shaped and formed into perfect symmetry, confronts you. Huge foundation slabs support a level carved of golden rock, inlaid and decorated with gemstones. Above that sits strata of precious metals, and then levels made up of crystal slabs whose facets reflect the colour of the rainbow. Upward climb tiers of ruby, sapphire and emerald that offer up a wedge-shaped spire of pure cornelium crystal to the sky. At its base, the swamp has shrunk back as if repelled by the radiant goodness of the temple. A perimeter of lush grass leads to a staircase of solid amber. You follow Pado as he ascends towards a pair of huge triangular doors set in the second level. Everywhere, the glitter of gemstones and the gleam of precious metals radiates a purity, unspoiled by the Danarg. Pado completes the complex procedures that open the great doors taught to him by the Elder Magi in preparation for the mission. They part and you enter, stepping on the floor of glistening gold. A floor that has lain undisturbed for 7,000 years. The great doors close with a whisper. You follow Pado along the corridor of gleaming silvery metal that dazzles your eyes to the hall, carved from solid crystal. Icicles of diamond hang from its ceiling and reflect in a floor set with mosaics of 1,000 shimmering squares. Approach the crystal dais, Lone Wolf, says Pado, pointing to a radiant circular plateau of pure quartz. Even as the words leave his lips, you're walking towards the plinth, drawn by a strange compulsion. You mount the dais, and a flood of golden light pours down from above, bathing you in its warm, cleansing rays. You raise your cupped hands as if offering up an invisible gift, and a tingling sensation runs the length of your arms, spreads through your body, giving you an incredible sense of well-being. A ball of sparkling light takes shape in your hands. It condenses into a radiant crystal filled with golden fire, the Law Stone of Orido. Full heal. The light fades and you step down from the dais, your senses aglow with newfound wisdom and strength. Having witnessed the fulfillment of your quest, Pado beams with joy as you return to his side. He says congratulations and bids you follow him as he turns towards an archway of silver set in the crystal wall. We have a long journey ahead of us. We must leave without delay. The thought of returning through the dangerous Danarg fills you with dread. Pado senses the anxiety. Don't look dismayed. This temple provides a mean for our safe return home, you will see. Intrigued by his answer, you follow in silence as he leads you through the archway and up a long flight of marble stairs to another chamber, constructed of crystal but veined with a marble that glistens with liquid fire. It is solid cornelium. At the center of the chamber, its hull resting on a cradle of steel, is a levitron, an ancient skyship. Like everything else you have seen in this temple, its craft is untarnished by time. Pado ushers you aboard and prepares to power the craft. A shudder runs through the hull as the engines rise. As the engines rise in pitch and slowly lifts from its bed of steel. The chamber is built in the spire of the temple, and the roof slides open to allow the levitron to raise into a darkening sky. Pado sets the controls and sets the ship's Starguider on course for Elzian. He joins you at the bow for one last look at the Temple of Orido. It glows red in the light of the setting sun, but the shimmering glow is blemished by shadows that swoop back and forth across its tiers. You assume it's just a trick of the light, until your ears are filled by a sudden, terrifying shriek. You look up and see a squadron of black-winged crans swooping down on the levitron. One of the backs of these leathery creatures rides red-robed Vordax, hideous servants of the Dark Lords of Helgadad. In their skeletal hands they wield staves of black iron crackling with blue fire. As the cran screams past, streams of liquid blue flame pour from the staff. We have the summer sword, however, and we use deflect. You deflect the stream of liquid fire from the edge, with the edge of the summer sword's golden blade, sending it raining down into the Danarg. Two more crans swoop in and hover above the prow, their riders leaping onto the deck and begin attacking part of the superstructure. "Stop them!" screams Pado, drawing his sword. "Stop them or we're doomed!" You leap from the bow and run across the main deck, your sun sword raised to strike. Fight. Barely a scratch. Barely a scratch. Suddenly, more shrieking. Vordax crashed down onto the deck. Pado is immediately engulfed by the red-robed figures. He is outnumbered, but fights like a tiger, his blue-bladed sword tearing deep into their loathsome bodies. You're running back across the main deck when a new danger confronts you. A Kran sweeps low across the skyship, dripping a cluster of black crystal cubes dropping a cluster of black crystal cubes that scatter across the deck. You sense that the cubes are going to explode. Should one of them cause a tear in the Levitron's pressure tank, the liquid gas stored inside will ignite and the resulting explosion will tear the skyship to pieces. Well, then we'll get rid of them first. Get rid of the enemy grenades. Frantically, you scramble across the deck, collecting and hurling away the cubes as you go. Each cube is vibrating with energy as that is set to rip it apart. And as you cast the last one over the side, you see the others exploding with dull booms in the swamp far below. Pado screams for your help. A swooping Kran rider casts a net, smothering his body. The net is sewn with hundreds of tiny barbed hooks which have worked their way into his skin. He cannot free himself without the hooks inflicting fearsome wounds. Only one Vordak remains to confront him, the others having perished by his blade. But he is now unable to defend himself. He is at the mercy of a merciless creature. You scramble to your feet and rush to save him as it steps closer. Suddenly, the Kran rider reappears, gliding low across the deck before hovering over the bow. A length of thin black rope dangles from its saddle, and the Vordak threads it through the corners of the net. You race up the steps, shouting, "For Summerland!" and launch your attack. The Vordak turns to face you, its skeletal features frozen in a mask of terror. An instant later, your weapon shears its bony neck and sends the skull-like head spinning down into the Danarg. A ghastly cry pierces your ears, but it is not a shriek of pain or despair. It is a malicious caw of triumph. The Kran beats its massive wings, and the downforce forces you to your knees as the creature climbs higher into the darkening sky. You stare aghast as the rope closes the net around Pado and lifts him off the deck. Instinctively, you leap upwards, your hands outstretched to grab the barbed net, but it is too late. The Kran turns in midair and flies off to the north with Pado, wounded and helpless, swinging like a netted fish below its leathery black belly. Anger and frustration well up inside you as you helplessly watch the Kran and your captured companion disappear beyond the horizon. Your anger gives way to sadness as you ponder his fate and wonder if he should survive this cruel abduction. You pray for his safety, calling upon the spirits of your ancestors to watch over and protect him. As if in answer to your prayer, you feel a sudden calm engulf your senses. The power of the Law Stone transfused into you appears in your hands, and it's greatly increased your intellect and awareness. With confidence, you know that he will survive his ordeal, and one day you will meet and fight again, side by side. The return voyage to Desi is swift but lonely. The Star Guider ensures that the Levitron stays on course. For Elzian, as you cross the canal which circles the city, a pilot starship arrives to escort you down. During the voyage, you discover how to control the Levitron, and now, as slowly you approach the landing platform of the Tower of Truth, you disengage the Star Guider and make a faultless landing. Lord Ramoa and the High Council gather to greet your return, and upon hearing of your success, their hopes for the future are renewed in spite of the sad news of Lord Pado's capture. The High Council listens avidly as you recall your treacherous journey through Telestria, the perilous trek across the Danarg, and the wondrous discovery of the temple. When finally you completed your account, they applaud and pay tribute to your courage and daring, their faces beaming with pride. But despite their joyous greetings, you sense that something is wrong. They seem distant, as if their minds were preoccupied with the solving of a difficult and perplexing problem. You ask Lord Ramoa if all is well. You have grown in perception, Lone Wolf. Many things have occurred since last we spoke, and although your quest for the Lord Stone of Orido has succeeded, the perils of our age have grown more deadly. The Dark Lords wage open war throughout Magnamund, and many lands have fallen before their Giak legions. Telestria has been overrun, so too have the Stornland nations. Summerland stands firm against the armies of Dark Lord Gnag, but she has lost her southern province of Ruanan. This shocking news fills you with an urge to return home. Yet, to do so would to defeat the Magna Kai quest. Lord Ramoa bids you follow him to the chambers of the High Council. Set into the floor is a circular well, brimming with a fiery liquid metal. He kneels and touches its surface, and slowly a vision takes form within the shimmering depths of the pool, a fortified city surrounded by rolling hills. You look upon the city of Tahau, in the land of Anari, he says, his voice solemn and composed. The lore stone you seek lies below its streets, in an ancient city that was built during the dawn of Magnament. The vision of Tahau heralds the start of a new and perilous episode in your quest for the Magna Kai. If you possess the bravery and courage of a true Kai Master, the challenge of Tahau awaits you in Book 9 of the Lone Wolf series, entitled The Cauldron of Fear. Oh, alright. That was absolutely merciless with its guy one-hit KOs you with thrown sword. Guy one-hit KOs you with thrown sword. 4 different one-hit KO end events. Monster that you've defeated in 5 other runs suddenly decides that it's going to roll really well and kill you. That was a toughie. I look forward to hopefully less trouble and achieving a bit better of a par of books to deaths next time. Join us then.